All right, welcome to another deep dive. This time, we're going to dig into something that, honestly, kind of gives me the chills. Business email compromise scams.
Oh, yeah.
BEC scams. You sent over some stuff about BEC scams, some excerpts, and we're gonna kind of unpack that, right?
Right.
The goal is to give you, the listener, a better understanding of how these scams work and more importantly, how to avoid becoming a victim. Because honestly,
Yeah.
these things, they're getting so sophisticated.
They are.
I mean, even the most, tech-savvy people can get tricked.
Absolutely.
Let's just jump right into it. What exactly is a BEC scam? I was reading through the source that you sent over, and they open with this crazy example of this influencer
Oh, yeah.
called Hush Puppy. I don't know if you've heard of this guy.
I have.
But apparently he was funding this like super lavish lifestyle
Oh, wow.
through BEC scams.
Wild.
Crazy, right? But here's the thing. Most BEC scammers, they aren't these flashy like Instagram stars. Right. They're not out there, showing off. They kind of fly under the radar, which I think makes them even more dangerous.
That's a really great point.
Yeah.
BEC scams, they really thrive on deception. It's not about, this brute force hacking or anything like that.
Right.
It's really about social engineering and manipulating people
Right. Yeah.
into giving up money or sensitive data. And it all comes down to impersonation.
Okay.
They might pose as a trusted colleague, a vendor,
Oh, wow.
even your CEO.
Oh, gosh.
And they really prey on like our natural tendency to trust emails that come from sources that we think we know.
Okay. That's kind of creepy.
Yeah.
You mentioned employee training.
Yes.
So are these scammers specifically targeting like employees then?
Absolutely. Employees are often kind of the weakest link in the security chain.
Right.
If you think about it, you get a request from your boss and it seems urgent. You're probably not going to question it that much.
Right. Yeah. You're not gonna think twice.
Exactly.
That makes sense. But I am curious, how do these scammers like even choose their victims? Do they just like, I don't know, randomly pick companies? How does that work?
Not quite. They actually do quite a bit of research. So they'll use platforms like LinkedIn,
Oh.
company websites to gather information about employees, their roles,
Okay.
even their relationships with other employees. I know it's a little unsettling, but they're even using things like Facebook quizzes
What?
to glean personal details
Yeah.
that can help them craft these more convincing scams.
Wait, Facebook quizzes?
Yeah.
Seriously? I had no idea that something that seems so, like, harmless
Right.
could be used against you like that.
It's all about building a profile. The more they know about you, the easier it is to kind of, tailor their attack and make it seem legit. And the scary part is that the financial losses from these scams, they're staggering.
Yeah.
In 2019 alone, businesses lost, get this, $1.7 billion to BEC scams.
Whoa.
And by early 2020, over 30,700 organizations have been targeted.
Wow. 1.7 billion. Those numbers are mind-blowing, and I'm
Yeah.
guessing those figures have only gotten worse, right?
I would say so.
With more and more people working remotely.
You are absolutely right. Remote work has definitely created a lot more opportunities for these scammers. It's kind of like a perfect storm.
Yeah.
People working from home may be a little more distracted,
Right.
and they're relying even more heavily on email communication.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, this is starting to feel a little overwhelming.
Yeah.
It seems like these scammers are always like one step ahead.
It can feel that way.
But the source that you sent, it mentions different types of BEC scams.
Right.
Maybe if we like break those down, it'll be a little less daunting.
That's a great idea. Understanding the different types of BEC scams is really key to recognizing the red flags
Okay.
and knowing how to protect yourself. So let's start with a classic.
Okay.
CEO fraud.
Okay. CEO fraud. What's the gist of that one?
So imagine this. You're in the finance department, right? And you get an email that appears to be from the CEO.
Yeah.
The email address looks almost identical to the CEO's real address, maybe just one letter off.
Okay.
And the message is urgent. It's demanding an immediate wire transfer to a new account for a supposedly time-sensitive deal.
Oh, wow. I can see how someone could easily fall for that, especially if you're not paying like super close attention to the email address.
Exactly. The scammers are banking on that sense of urgency and authority to kind of cloud people's judgment. And that's just one type.
Right.
Another common tactic is account compromise.
Okay, what's that one all about?
So this one usually starts with a successful phishing attack Once the scammer gains access to an employee's email account, they can then use that account to request payments from vendors,
Oh,
claiming that the company's changed its banking information.
got it.
And because the email is coming from a trusted source,
Right.
those payments often go through without a hitch.
So it's not just about protecting your own accounts. You also have to be aware that, like, anyone that you do business with could be compromised too.
That's right.
Wow. That adds another layer of, like, complexity to this whole thing.
It does. And then there's the false invoice scheme, which often targets foreign suppliers.
Foreign suppliers, why them?
Well, for a couple of reasons. International transactions, they often involve larger sums of money.
Right.
And there can be language barriers that make it harder to spot discrepancies. So the scammer will pretend to be the supplier, sending these fake invoices with altered bank account details.
So they're taking advantage of that, like, added layer of complexity.
Exactly.
To try to slip under the radar.
Yep.
Sneaky. What other types of scams are out there?
Well, there's attorney impersonation, which plays on people's fear of legal repercussions. They might target a subordinate employee, claiming that there's a legal matter that requires immediate payment. And there's data theft, which is a little bit different. In this case, they're not necessarily trying to get money directly. They're after sensitive employee information that they can use for future attacks or identity theft.
So they might target, like, someone in HR.
Exactly.
To get access to, like, social security numbers or bank account details.
That's right. It's all about gathering ammunition.
Yeah.
For a whole range of follow-up scams.
Yeah.
And what's really scary is that they're getting so good at making these emails look legitimate. They might even spoof the company logo and use language that mimics the way real employees communicate.
Hearing all of this, it makes me want to just, like, unplug my computer and live off the grid. I mean, are there even any effective ways to protect ourselves from these scams? It feels like we're fighting a losing battle.
It can definitely feel that way.
Yeah.
But don't despair. The good news is that there are a number of strategies that you can implement that can significantly reduce your risk.
Okay. That's a relief to hear. Let's dive into those prevention strategies.
Yeah.
Where do we even begin?
Okay. It all starts with email security practices. Think of it as like building a fortress around your inbox.
Okay, I like that analogy. Building a fortress.
Yeah.
So what are the building blocks of this fortress?
First and foremost, multi-factor authentication.
Okay.
This adds like an extra layer of security by requiring you to enter a code from your phone or a security key in addition to your password.
Right.
It makes it much harder for scammers to gain access to your accounts.
Yeah.
Even if they do manage to steal your password.
That makes sense. I've actually been meaning to set that up for my own accounts.
Yeah.
It always seemed like kind of a hassle, but
Right.
I guess it's worth it for the added security. What else can we do?
Another crucial step is monitoring for suspicious email forwarding rules.
Okay.
Scammers might try to set up rules that automatically forward certain emails to an external account.
Oh.
So regularly check your email settings
Okay.
and make sure there are no forwarding rules that you don't recognize.
Good point. I hadn't even thought about that.
And here's another tip that can make a big difference. Labeling external emails.
Okay.
This helps employees quickly identify emails that are coming from outside the organization.
Right.
You can set up your email client to automatically add a tag or a color code to external emails.
Oh.
That way it's like a visual cue that this email might require a little extra scrutiny.
That's really smart. Yeah, it's like a little warning flag right there in your inbox.
Exactly.
Okay, what about robust email logging?
Yeah.
What exactly does that mean?
So robust email logging basically means keeping detailed records of all email activity.
Okay.
This can be invaluable for investigations if you do suspect a BEC scam. Imagine you're looking at the email logs and you see that an email purporting to be from the CEO was actually sent from an IP address in a foreign country.
Right.
That's a huge red flag.
Ah, so it's like a digital trail
Right.
that can help you trace the origins of these suspicious emails.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've got these, like, tech tools in place,
Mhm.
but the source you sent really emphasizes employee training. Why is that so important?
Because even with the best tech in place, human error is still a major factor in BEC scams.
Yeah.
People need to be trained on how to spot those red flags,
Yeah.
like those slightly off emailed addresses,
Right.
urgent requests for wire transfers,
Yeah.
requests for sensitive information that seem out of the ordinary.
Right. It's like we can build the strongest fortress, but if someone leaves the gate open.
Exactly.
Well,
And one really effective training technique is the callback procedure.
Callback procedure? What's that?
It's simple, but it's very powerful.
Okay.
Basically, if an employee receives any unusual request, especially one involving money or sensitive data, they are trained to call the person who supposedly sent the request to verify it.
Okay.
And the key is to use a known phone number, not the one that's provided in the email, because that could be fake.
So if I get an email from my boss asking me to wire money to a new account,
Right.
I should pick up the phone and call them directly to confirm.
Exactly. That one simple step can prevent a lot of heartache. And it really reinforces that idea that it's always better to err on the side of caution when it comes to cybersecurity.
I like that err on the side of caution.
Yeah.
So we've talked about tech, we've talked about training.
Yeah.
What else is in our, BEC prevention toolkit?
Regular testing is crucial.
Uh,
Think of it like fire drills for your inbox.
Fire drills for your inbox. I love that.
Yeah.
So how does that work?
You can simulate phishing attacks to see how your employees respond. You send out test emails that look like they could be real phishing attempts.
Right.
And track who clicks on suspicious links or provide sensitive information. It's a great way to identify weak spots in your defenses and provide additional training where it's needed.
It's like a way to assess your vulnerability before a real attack happens.
Exactly.
Smart. Okay, what about standardized validation procedures? The source you sent mentioned that as well.
That's all about having clear, documented procedures for verifying account changes and payment requests,
Okay.
both internally and with your business partners. For example, if someone requests a change to a vendor's bank account information, there should be a multi-step process to verify that request, involving multiple people and perhaps even a phone call to the vendor using a known contact number.
So it's about removing any ambiguity and making sure that everyone knows exactly what steps to take to validate a request.
Exactly.
No more rubber stamping anything.
Right.
Even if it seems to be coming from a trusted source.
Exactly. And finally, don't underestimate the power of third-party technologies.
Okay.
There are companies out there that specialize in detecting fraudulent emails and look-alike domains.
Okay.
They can add an extra layer of protection, especially against those sneaky impersonation attempts.
So these third-party tools can help flag emails that might slip through the cracks of our, regular security system.
Precisely. They use advanced algorithms in machine learning to analyze email patterns, sender reputation, other factors to identify potentially fraudulent emails.
Okay.
It's like having an extra set of eyes watching over your inbox.
Okay, so we've got a pretty comprehensive set of, tools and strategies here.
Yeah.
But let's be real. Sometimes, despite our best efforts, things can still slip through the cracks. What happens if, God forbid, a BEC scam does succeed?
Oh, yeah.
What should we do then?
Speed is of the essence. If you suspect that you've fallen victim to a BEC scam, the first thing you need to do is contact your financial institution immediately. They may be able to stop the transaction or even recover some of the funds if you act quickly.
So don't just sit there and panic.
Right.
Take immediate action.
Exactly. And be sure to report the crime to the FBI's Internet Crime Complaint Center.
Okay.
Or IC3. Or your local law enforcement agency.
Yeah.
This creates a paper trail and could help in recovering funds or even catching the perpetrators.
Reporting it also helps to raise awareness.
Yes.
And track these trends. Right. It's like a neighborhood watch.
Exactly.
But for the digital world.
You got it. The more we report these scams,
yeah,
the better equipped law enforcement agencies are going to be to combat them.
Right. Okay, so we've covered the what and the how of BEC scams. And we've talked about the why, which is basically greed and exploitation.
Right.
But what about the who?
Right.
Who are these, masterminds behind the keyboard? Are we talking lone wolves? Organized crime rings?
Yeah.
Supervillains with layers full of computer screens?
Well, it's not quite as dramatic as a supervillain lair.
Right.
But it can be just as complex.
Yeah.
The reality is it's not a one-size-fits-all answer.
Right.
You have individuals operating on their own. You have small groups working together.
Okay.
And yes, you even have sophisticated criminal enterprises with global reach.
Wow. So we could be talking about, individuals all the way up to these large organized operations.
Absolutely.
Wow. What's the motivation behind these scams? I mean, is it purely financial gain?
Well, financial gain is certainly a primary driver. It's not always the only motive. Increasingly, we're seeing evidence of nation-state involvement, using BEC scams as a way to fund illicit activities or even disrupt geopolitical rivals.
So it's not just about stealing money anymore.
Right.
It's about power and influence.
That's right.
That adds a whole new layer of complexity, and honestly, it's kind of scary.
Absolutely. And what's particularly concerning is the evolution of these scams. They're constantly adapting, finding new ways to exploit vulnerabilities and stay ahead of security measures. That's why it's so important to stay informed, to keep learning and updating our defenses. This is not a static threat. It's a constantly evolving one.
It's like an arms race. But instead of weapons, it's information and technology. And the battlefield is our inboxes.
That's a great analogy.
Yeah.
And just like in any arms race, knowledge is power. The more you understand about the enemy, their tactics, their motivations, the better equipped you are to defend yourself.
So what does this all mean for our listeners? What are the key takeaways they should walk away with?
I think the biggest things are awareness, prevention, and vigilance.
Okay. Break those down for me.
You've got to know what you're dealing with, right? BEC scams are a real threat, and they're getting more and more sophisticated all the time.
Yeah, for sure. And what about prevention?
Well, we've gone through a bunch of strategies, but the key is to have a solid plan. Think multi-layered defense, strong passwords, multi-factor authentication, email security practices, employee training, all of those things working together to protect you.
Right. It's like having a security system for your inbox.
Exactly.
Not just for your house.
Exactly. And then don't forget vigilance. You've got to be on the lookout for anything suspicious. Don't click on links that you don't recognize, and double-check any requests that seem out of the ordinary, especially if they involve money.
Right. And if something does feel a little off, don't hesitate to report it.
Absolutely. Reporting these scams helps everyone. It helps law enforcement agencies track trends and develop countermeasures, and it helps raise awareness so that other people can be on guard.
It's like, we're all in this together.
We are.
Going through all of this, it's clear that these scams aren't just a problem for businesses. They can impact anyone.
That's right. It's easy to think, oh, I'm just an individual, I'm not a target.
Right.
But these scammers, they don't discriminate.
Yeah.
They're after anyone that they think they can trick.
I have to admit, this whole conversation has been a little bit of a wake-up call for me.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to be more cautious about my online activity and my emails.
That's the spirit. It's all about being proactive
Yeah.
and taking those steps to protect yourself.
So where do we go from here? What's the next frontier in this ongoing battle against BEC scams?
That's a great question. As technology continues to advance, so will the tactics of these scammers. We're already seeing signs of this with the emergence of AI-powered phishing campaigns.
AI-powered phishing, what does that even look like?
Imagine phishing emails that are so personalized and so well-crafted that they're almost impossible to distinguish from legitimate emails.
Yeah.
These AI systems can analyze vast amounts of data to tailor their attacks to individual victims. It's a pretty scary thought.
It is. So how do we, stay ahead of the curve? What can we do to protect ourselves against these, increasingly sophisticated threats?
Well, for one thing, we need to keep educating ourselves.
Yeah.
The more we understand about these emerging technologies and the ways that they can be exploited,
Right.
the better prepared we'll be to defend against them.
Right. So it's like we need to become cybersecurity detectives.
Yeah.
Constantly learning and adapting to the evolving tactics of these digital criminals.
Exactly. And I think it's also important to kind of foster a culture of security, both in our workplaces and in our personal lives. We need to be talking about these threats, sharing information, and looking out for each other.
Yeah. It's like that old saying, it takes a village.
Right.
But in this case, it takes a digitally savvy village to combat cybercrime.
Yeah.
We need to kind of empower each other to be the first line of defense.
I couldn't agree more. Knowledge is power. And by understanding the tactics and motivations behind these scams, we can all take steps to protect ourselves and the people around us.
This has been an incredibly insightful deep dive.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us and helping us to kind of navigate this complex world of BEC scams.
It's been my pleasure.
And to our listeners, we want to hear from you. Have you ever encountered a BEC scam? What steps are you taking to protect yourself online? Share your thoughts and experiences with us on social media. We're all in this together. And remember, folks, stay informed, stay vigilant, and stay safe out there in the digital world. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of BEC scams. We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration.